This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 10,000 hours on Pinterest and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who's obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I Do. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. Today we're diving into everything that goes into backup plans for your wedding day if you end up needing one.
Yeah, even the best laid plans can get interrupted by Mother Nature. I just saw a video recently of a bear killing a moose in the middle of a wedding ceremony. So yeah, things will happen, but as long as you have some good contingency plans in place, everything should work out fine.
Yeah, like we don't have advice for you on that exact scenario today.
No, the bear, yeah.
But we have lots of advice on like rain and like inclement weather. So we do believe with a lot of other people that rain on your wedding day is good luck. So if that happens, that's great. Yeah, and we're going to talk about how to save the day from the inclement weather and also just to like make the best of it because like I said, good luck, that's cool, but also it can just like make for really special photos and like really just like a fun time. I feel like sometimes when stuff doesn't go exactly to plan, as long as you're willing to kind of like roll with the punches, it can just make for really special memories. So
yeah, oh my gosh, absolutely. It's so like candid and just in the moment. But yeah, before we talk more about those unexpected details, let's talk about our beverages of the day.
What are you drinking, Caroline? In your cool
cup? I have my little traveler mug. This one's so great because my drink doesn't spill out of it. But it is my cold brew concentrate. That's all I've been drinking recently. But I tried to find, maybe I drank this last time. I did try to find whatever cookie butter thing. And I still can't find it, but I found a like cinnamon dolce kind of thing. So cinnamon cold brew. It's very good. I like it. Again, it's the Monin syrup, cold brew syrup, MONIN. And I just bought 2 more bottles of it because I am going through it that quickly.
That sounds good.
It is really good. But what are you having?
I'm having an iced latte thing. I rediscovered my Nespresso recently. And I've been getting pretty creative. Not that creative, really. But like an espresso pod and then that creamer that you mentioned, it's like, I think it's the Silk brand. So like it's not anything crazy. So I need to start stocking it in your neck of the woods. But it's like oatmeal cookie is like, because it's like an oat milk based thing. And it's like an oatmeal cookie flavor creamer. It's really good.
It sounds so good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call my grocery store and say you gotta step it up. Thank you.
Yeah, that's worth doing. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna recommend might seem pretty obvious, but we have even like a little twist on it. So if it is gonna be a rainy day on your wedding, actually, first of all, let me backtrack really quick. Most venues, every venue should have some sort of backup plan in place for you, or at least recommendations on almost like maybe even upgrades to plan for something if something like goes awry. So that is a question to ask your wedding venue right away. They probably, I would hope, would bring this up to you like on an initial tour or something like that. I know maybe if you're thinking of an outdoor ceremony, they have a space that they are able to move you inside, or like I'm going to talk about, there are tent options as well. So as long as it's not a really crazy huge storm, like that things would be dangerous, a tent is always a great option. And something that we have seen, like I haven't seen it a ton, but they do exist, are like clear topped tents. So it doesn't have to necessarily mean indoor. If like I love an outdoor celebration, I think that's so great. So if you want still that like really like outdoor feeling, you want to be able to see the sky, a clear tent even when there's like a little bit of rain is great. And it honestly, like kind of sounds like a little bit magical to me, like having
Yeah.
like you can look up and you can see the rain, and it would probably make like really nice relaxing sounds. So yeah, that is definitely something that you can consider. This might be something that you have to do a little bit of searching for. Like I said, most venues have some sort of backup plan in place. They're used to it. So, like, they might say, here are your options if it rains. You can do this or you can do this. And they might have a tent for you, but that tent might not necessarily be clear. But yes, that's definitely something that you should talk to your venue about before. You should
Yeah.
ask that question. Make sure that you're aware of it, because you don't want to, find yourself disappointed and surprised by like what the outcome has to be, or if for some reason they don't have one. You just want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row there. And just as
Yeah.
like a general rule, I believe that most venues will say, like, on the actual day you have up until a certain time, like an hour, or maybe even, I mean, an hour would be like really pushing it, I think, before your ceremony starts or your celebration starts, whatever it is, that you can make that decision. Like, okay, we're going to make the decision to move it indoors or move it under the tent or whatever it might be, just so that they can get all of the stuff moved, the chairs, whatever props
Right.
or whatever you guys have going on. So, yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you can get married in the rain, and that's cool too.
No, for sure. And I think you bring up a good point that, like, yes, having this backup plan, having a tent, having whatever, but bringing up the time frame of, like, you also need a plan into your schedule, like when you need to make all the decisions if
Right.
weather is an issue. And also, I love the point that you brought up about clear tent being really magical. I visited a couple venues with Here Comes the Guide where we have seen those tents in person, and a lot of times venues are trying to make that as like beautiful as possible, so they'll add like fairy lights, twinkle lights and stuff, and the pictures of those clear tents with the lights at night is like truly so magical. So don't
Yeah.
be afraid if like that ends up needing to be the option. It's totally fine. It'll still be beautiful, magical. The photos will be awesome, but planning ahead is super important so that you can get that magical moment.
It is. And if you do on your wedding day have to make that decision, whether you're going to move something somewhere, and your coordinator or someone on the staff of the venue should be, come
Yeah.
on, you got to make, like, they should be letting you know when that decision has to be made. So,
Yeah. So another thing that you can kind of plan for is all of the accessories that you're going to be using and thinking about those pretty practically. Now, this doesn't have to apply just to rainy day weather. You should also be thinking about your accessories in terms of if you're having a beach wedding, you're likely not wearing stiletto heels. But if we're thinking about weather or different things, especially if you're going to be outdoors, the rain can affect the ceremony space drastically. So maybe the rain lightens up and you can still have your ceremony outside, but the ground might be a little bit wet, or a lot wet. Who's to say? And I think about this because my graduation ceremony from college, I ruined my graduation shoes because I still wanted to wear them, even though we were outside. The mud got so caked all over them that they were just like not salvageable, and I don't want that for you. So let's think about accessories and think about the options that you might have. So if it is really rainy, you can opt for rain boots. And that might sound weird. I'm a lover of hunter rain boots. I have two different pairs. I just love the style. I love the look of them. But a lot of times you can hide those boots under your dress. So no one's really going to see, but you can still keep that practicality of like those boots will be super easy to wash off. You don't have to worry about like slipping and sliding as much in heels or something like that. And honestly, they have a lot of fun patterns and you can like lean into it and just make it a really cute moment. That's something that I think is good, and having a change of shoes then for other pictures is great, but the practicality of like walking down the aisle in heels in the mud might not be great. So using the hunter boots for that and then having your change of shoes for pictures, I think is probably the best thing to do in the case of weather affecting your outdoor ceremony.
yeah, and even like you're mentioning the boots and then like the beach wedding, and like, it would make sense to wear stilettos to that. It even makes me think of like when people like hike out to like a spot in nature to get married or whatever, and they have like maybe like an outdoorsy or like adventurous theme to their wedding in general. I think those pictures and stuff, like the content that comes out of it, is so cool when you see like you see the boots poking through or whatever. And even if that's not your plan to begin with, maybe you didn't want to have to walk in any type of mud on your wedding day, but it's one of those things, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, like if you're able to roll with the punches, it can make for like the cutest stories, and you can have your shoes that you wanted to wear, your fancy ones, and you can get the photos that you want in those, maybe just not, like in the messy areas, but
Yeah.
like having like those photos and just the memories of like, oh yeah, it started raining and it was kind of muddy, so I ended up having to throw on my rain boots. Like so cute.
It really
It
is. I
adds
love
like
it.
just like such cute personality to stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on the subject of mud and all that, one thing that you can prepare for is protecting your dress or whatever attire that you're wearing. So we have a few ideas for you here, and this might just be something to do in general, even if it's not going to be super rainy. If you're going to be outside at all, even if you're not outside, and you want to really make sure that you're protecting your dress and keeping it nice. If you have a long dress, it's going to be dragging on some sort of surface throughout your day. And so, yeah, if you want to take these extra measures to protect your dress, we're all for it. But some ideas that we have for you: you can purchase or even rent a petticoat for your dress. So this is just going to lift up the hem of your gown a little bit so that it's not like totally dragging on the floor. So it's not just for ball gowns. They make all different types. I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm sure that if you just do a little Google on like bridal petticoats, or even wherever
Right.
you purchase your dress, if you talk to the staff there, I'm sure that they're the experts. I'm not, but these things exist, and that could be a great thing. You might even be able to, like I said, you can probably rent these things. You might even be able to rent it from the shop where you purchase your dress. So something to keep in mind. And then you can have your dress sprayed as well. So this is something that you can DIY. I know I've done this. Like I remember my mom helping me with this when I was little with like my Ugg boots. Like we would spray them with like Scotch Guard, so
Yeah.
that way they didn't get totally trashed when I like schlepped through the slush at
Yeah.
wintertime. But so yeah, you can do this yourself for sure. Or if you take it to a dry cleaner, they can do it more professionally. I don't know what that entails, but I'm sure they have some like heavy duty stuff that they put on there. So that's a great option, especially like you're probably gonna have to go to, oh, I'm mixing up seamstress and dry cleaner, I guess, or like a tailor. But I'm sure that if you go to get your dress
Right.
tailored, fitted, whatever alterations, I'm sure that they would at least have recommendations on where you can go for something like that.
For sure.
Also, if you're there and maybe you didn't do either of these things first, definitely enlist the help of your bridal party, your maid of honor, a flower girl. Have them help you. A flower girl would probably be so excited to help you, like hold the train of your dress, even like as you're like moving throughout maybe the property to try to get some photos. Yeah, ask for help. You're the bride, okay? It's your day. You can ask for help, and and have them, maybe lift some stuff up, help you carry whatever needs to be carried so that it's not just fully dragging in the mud. And then also, you can always opt for a short dress, but I know that I don't think that I would necessarily say like, oh, it might rain on my wedding day, I'm gonna pick a short dress. Like that wouldn't be the thought process for me, but it's an option as well. So
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
And maybe you can think about that as like if you do pick a short dress from the get go, then you may not have to worry about some of these other things,
Right.
and that's nice. The next thing I want to talk about is all the things that you can bring to help make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So, firstly, you've probably seen this in other photos of rainy day weddings, is the clear umbrellas. I feel like that's a staple anytime that rainy day weddings do happen. I actually really love those photos of the like clear umbrellas
I
over the
love
couple.
those.
You can see like the raindrops like coming down on it, and especially if your photographer has worked in that kind of condition before, they're going to be able to pull out something amazing and beautiful and really intimate, honestly. Like I think there's a sense to me of like the rain. I really like rain, so maybe that's just me, but I think of like, ooh, Pride and Prejudice. There's a scene with Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth in there and like running out of the rain into this like, I don't even know, but like into the same like area where they're out of the rain and they have this really beautiful moment, but they're like rain soaked. And I'm like, wow, the romance. So you get to still have some outdoor photos with those umbrellas. And then maybe you do buy them for the whole bridal party. So you can all have that. You also have the option of just finding like fun, colorful ones, I do think the clear umbrellas are probably the best bet for photos and photographers. But you do have options there. So umbrellas can help you make sure that you still get the outdoor photos, you still get the experience that you want, and honestly, maybe it adds a little bit of ambiance to it. The other thing I'll say though too is you'll definitely want to bring towels for yourself, for the decor, for the umbrellas, like whatever it may be, depending on how bad the rain is. That's probably a good thing to have on hand. Additionally, because I'm the type of person who loves packing extra things just in case, I would think about bringing things like garbage bags to put those wet towels in, or to put your muddy rain boots in, whatever
That's a
else that
great
may
idea.
be. Yeah, thinking about all of those ways that, like, yes, you may need them on the day, but then also how you're going to transport all that wet stuff home.
Yeah.
Thinking about all of that stuff is really important. So the umbrellas, towels, garbage bags, things like that, I would pack just in case, or at least be thinking about that in the back of your head as you're making your plans.
And honestly, I know we talk a lot about like questions to ask and stuff. This is something that I think you should totally ask when you ask your wedding venue about like what their backup plan is. They might have umbrellas for you to use. They might be like, yeah, you don't
True.
have to bring towels. Like, we've got it. We've
Yeah.
got it down. But they might not. So, especially if you're getting married in a place like, I don't know, a park or like something that's not maybe a
Yeah.
traditional wedding venue, something outdoors, definitely take Caroline's advice and bring like a whole thing of garbage bags, like a whole new, just, yeah, yeah. And like
Yeah.
changes of clothes and like all
Yes.
of the things that you might think that you,
Honestly, like a
yeah.
hair dryer might be nice
Oh
if
my
your hair
gosh,
gets really
yeah.
wet, or like beauty supplies that might be, helpful
Yeah.
for combating the rain, whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's just I think really going to come down to like what type of venue that you're at. So like the more stripped down it is, probably the more stuff you're going to have to pack, and that's going to be just like in general across the
Right.
board, decor, like all
Yeah.
of the things.
And that's
Yeah.
honestly kind of a nice plug for like when you're choosing your venue, like when you start asking them these things, that can be a really nice sigh of relief of like, okay, if something bad happens, they've got this. And that's really nice.
Yeah. And a lot of venues will, I mean, like they really should have a backup plan for you. Then that's a question that you should ask. I'm sure that we've mentioned that before, asking them about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But if you do go to tour a venue and you say like, hey, like, if it rains or whatever, like, we're supposed to get married under that little gazebo thing over there. Like, what if there's a big storm? What's the plan? And they're like, oh, we don't have one. That's
Yeah.
going to be a red flag. We do have a
For
red
sure.
flags episode. Not sure if we
Yeah.
mentioned that one specifically in there, but I'd like to add it as a red flag because seriously, like if they
Yeah.
don't know, then that tells you something about what kind of organization they've got going on over there. And I mean, like the weddings are their thing. They host weddings
Right.
full time, I would assume, and so they should have
Yeah.
experience with it having rained before, and they should know
Serious. Yeah.
what
Or
to do.
even if they are a newer venue, they should have that thought through
Right.
of like what they are going to do. Because I'm going to venture to guess if you're listening to our podcast right now or watching us on YouTube, you're a planner. You want to be able to have all these things thought through.
Yeah.
And so you want your venue to be able to think those things through even ahead of you so that you don't have to worry about it. And if not, if you have your heart set on a venue that's not the case, where you are going to have to DIY a little bit more, that's fine. That's why you're here with us and talking through these things. But we do want to mention that like, yes, it's really great to have venues that already have this all thought out. And if you don't, this episode is absolutely for you.
Yes. If you're a planner, all of these episodes are for you.
That's so true.
Okay, the last thing that I think we need to touch on, we've kind of laid out all of the planning things, everything that you can have prepped and think of ahead of time. But I think that we would be wrong as ourselves to not talk about this at the end here. So Caroline
Yeah.
already talked about it a little bit. I'm sure that I've like thrown in a few things about it as well, but we love like rainy wedding photos and videos and all of the content that comes from it. And you have to be able to be a little bit flexible. You can't let yourself get like totally devastated or something if it starts raining, like, oh my gosh, it's not going perfectly as I planned. If you're able to kind of like take a deep breath and just say like, okay, this is what it is, I'm gonna make the best of it. Seriously, the pictures that come out of it are so like
Yeah,
So good. Like,
they're so good.
yeah, like dancing in the rain.
I've
So
seen
good.
so many. Yeah. I've actually seen a couple weddings where I'm like, I can tell the bride and groom kind of took the charge on like being like, it's fine. We don't care. We're still going to have so much fun. And I think the rest of the guests took that lead and ran with it. So you can see so many weddings where like there is a tent option, but it is pouring. And everyone like bands together and like pushes whatever tables were like along that side in further, and everyone cozies up together. Or I've seen pictures of like essentially a mud pit forming under the tent, but everyone is still dancing and like sliding around in the mud. Like
Oh
the
my
craziest
gosh.
things start to happen, but you can tell that like the joy is just so real and so
Yeah.
candid. And I do think it is a big part of it is people are going to take, whatever, however you're responding to it and going to run with that. Like if you are
Right.
responding to it and you're not having a good time, everyone's going to kind of like, like,
Like,
yeah.
oh, what do we do? There's nothing we can do.
But if they see you take whatever bad thing is happening or whatever inclement weather, whatever situation, and run with it and just make the best of it, everyone else is too. And that's like when everything gets so fun.
Yeah. It's seriously so fun. If you're ever, you know what, this might be a healthy project. If you're planning your wedding and you have even a thought that, you're doing something outside and it might rain and like maybe you're uncomfortable with that, just go on Pinterest and search like rainy wedding photography, like rainy wedding, romantic wedding in the rain. And like, just go ahead and take a scroll through those photos and it might like make you feel like, oh, I hope it rains on my wedding day because one, good luck. And two, like these photos are just really magical. And yeah, like the playfulness that comes out is just so special. So yeah, we're kind of a fan of rainy day weddings and we're fans of planning in general. And
Yeah.
having backup plans and stuff like that makes us feel really good. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
rainy day weddings, check.
Check. And we didn't even cover all of the different things that could happen. Like I said at the top, like a bear could eat a moose during your ceremony. If you haven't seen that on Instagram or TikTok, maybe it'll show up now that we're talking about on this episode.
Yeah.
But there's also been things where like there's a snake that like a groomsman killed in the middle of a ceremony. Like there are things that happen. And again, no matter what happens, no matter what unexpected thing pops up, I really think it's best to just go with the flow and
Yes.
just kind of let some of those things happen. If you hold on to it too tightly, it's not as fun. If you go with the flow, it'll be way, way better. And I know I'm saying that to people who are planners. I know we already like just solidified that you're probably a planner if you're listening. So that's really something to kind of walk into the whole planning process with, is just knowing that like, yes, as much as I want to plan and I'm trying to plan and it's going to be beautiful, there will be something that happens. And when that one thing or two things do happen, roll with it. That's the best advice I think I could give.
Roll with it and try to just keep really positive. If you get in your head, it's so easy to snowball and like let things like get like if you let something like affect your emotions negatively, then it's like, oh, like it just like is really easy to let things snowball. So yeah, that's a great practice probably for life in general, is to just like really try to like let go and like know that like things that are out of your control are just out of your control, and like you got to make the best of the situation.
Yeah, and I'm still figuring that out. So
Yeah, me
I'm
too,
telling
of
you
course.
from experience, but I'm also like,
Yeah,
I
if
gotta
you
figure that
figure
out.
it out, write into us and let us know how to do it, please.
Seriously.
All right.
That
Well,
was
that's all
great.
that we have for you. Yeah, today it was great. We're both like weather girls, I think. Like we both like
Yeah.
a storm, like we'll be like, "Oh, it's raining today." Like happy about it. So, this was exciting to talk about, and like I said, we're planners. We've said that 100 times.
Yeah.
But that's all that we have for you today on backup plans. If you guys have any questions for us, as always, or any episode suggestions, feel free to reach out to us. You can find us, or you can reach out to us on our website, theguidegalspodcast.com. You can also find our full episode library there and a bunch of free resources. We're on Instagram at The Guide Gals Podcast. We're on TikTok at the Guide Gals Pod, and we're on YouTube on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. All of our videos or all of our episodes have a video component to them. So yeah, that's where you can find us. Connect with us in those
Yeah.
places. We love to hear from you guys. But yes, Until next time.
Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.